I'm Latia James, the Brand Strategy Director for Heritage Digital. We want to thank you for coming back for part two of our four-part Securing Your Digital Footprint. Welcome back, Natalie Suarez, our partner with ConnectWise. Thank you so much for all of the useful information she gave us in part one about identity security and internet security. It was so great. Today, we're going to dive right in to how to actually secure your digital footprint. Natalie has some great information about what that really entails. We're going to turn it over to Natalie.
Thank you. Well, hello, everyone. Let's give a little bit of a background on what exactly is a digital footprint. That really comprises everything you do online. That includes any of your assets, any data that you directly and intentionally post. That's going to include any public content on your websites, social media, blogs, other media. It's going to include your search engine ranking, your online reviews, your backlink profiles. In case you don't know what that is, that's the quality of the links pointing to your website, which has a direct bearing when Google, for instance, when that search engine crawls through the internet looking for these links. Anything about your overall brand visibility. And really, you really need to pay attention to this because you can use it for a lot of great purposes. So you can use it obviously for customer engagement, brand credibility, reputation management. You can use it to analyze data collected to make sure to protect not just you, but also your clients against any type of fraudulent activity. And that doesn't matter if you're the type of business who has a product that you're selling online or a service that you're providing online, things like that. And actually collecting this data can give you great insight onto what you're doing right with your customers and maybe what you could improve on to attract more customers, right? So really, it just encompasses any digital activities, which these days, just about everything you do has some type of digital impact, right? Oh, I see we have a question.
Well, yes, Natalie, one question did come in online, and a person wanted to know if they actually should hire somebody to clean up their online footprint.
Well, so let me answer this in a kind of a weird way. When I see something about people cleaning up your presence, I think back to all those ads you may see, clean up your credit, pay me this money and we'll clean up your credit. You can't really clean it up. The internet is really forever. What you can do is you can manage it. So if you have a lot of fraudulent activity, you could combat that. You could hire a public relations firm. That would be a reputable way to try to clean up your footprint. The only way to clean up your credit is to actually work with your creditors, right? Not to have some company come along and say, hey, I'm going to erase any mistakes you may have made in your past. Kind of the same thing with a digital footprint. I would recommend the public relations route to try to clean that up. Even before you did that, you have to be aware, what's in my digital footprint? Am I paying attention to social media? Am I training my employees, my staff, and my colleagues on what they should and shouldn't? Because if they're representing your company, what they say can affect your digital footprint on social media. So you really need to include that in your training of your staff and your colleagues, right? Do I see another question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, great.
This is another question that came in through our online portal submission. Can you speak to how online reviews are used either positively or negatively and how they're easily manipulated for gain or harm?
Yes. I'd be really surprised if everyone here has not shopped at Amazon online at some point in time, right? Have you ever noticed sometimes when you look at the reviews for a product, you might see stuff that doesn't look quite right? Like some companies take advantage by grouping all their reviews together. So they may have one product that's really awesome and maybe some other products that aren't so reputable, but they have a higher ranking for all the disreputable products because they've lumped them all together. Another thing that can happen is maybe you as a business may have unintentionally angered a customer, right? Maybe instead of giving you a chance, they might post something about their poor experience with you, whether it truly was a bad experience or not. One way to mitigate that is to pay attention and reply. I've seen that many times where someone has posted, maybe for a restaurant, a bad review, and maybe it wasn't really the restaurant's fault. Maybe the expectations of the person were unreasonable, or maybe the person just had a bad day. Sometimes that happens. The other thing that can happen is someone purposely posting many bad reviews. I mean, this can be automated, right? Digital world, everything can be automated. Think AI again, right? And maybe posting a bunch of bad reviews about your business, no matter whether you're a restaurant or you provide some kind of professional service, and you all of a sudden have all these bad reviews, and you're like, what the heck is all this coming from? These aren't even real customers. What's happening? Then you get that email, that extortion email, right? If you want me to take down these reviews, this is one of the reasons why it's so important to pay attention. Now, you may not have a large staff, maybe you don't have a PR firm, but this is one of the powers of AI. AI is really good at collecting and analyzing data for you. So you could allow an AI engine, a private one, if you listened to last week, not a public one like ChatGPT. We don't want to lose any of our intellectual property, right? You have this many good reviews. I've detected this strange pattern that you have this whole slew of bad reviews that all have this thing in common. You could take that technology and use it to your advantage to mitigate any risk with bad reviews. Now, like any other type of extortion, ransomware, this is my personal opinion. Notice I'm managing ConnectWise's digital footprint here, right? I would not pay a ransom to these bad guys. What's to stop them from doing more, right? Just look at, for instance, this is a ransomware, not a digital review thing, but Lockbit ransomware, right? They're back, but they were taken down by an international group of governments, including ours, the United States. And they would do the quadruple extortion. Hey, pay me to get the decryption. So you pay them. Pay me not to release your data. And then you pay them. And when these law enforcement people took them down, what did they find? Did they delete any of that data they promised to delete? No, they didn't. They're bad guys, right? And if you give in to this type of extortion, honestly, you're going to find that it's going to happen more and more. And when you're paying a large sum of money to a bad guy, that just incentivizes them, right? So you are paying them to continue their business model. You're paying them to continue to do bad things. And it goes past extortion or ransomware. Some of this money goes to fund drug trade, human trafficking, really bad stuff that you don't want any part of. So that's why my personal opinion is not to pay that. Everyone has to make the decision that they feel is best for their business. But my personal opinion is I would not give in to a bad guy. I would find another way, like a PR firm. I would think that's money much better spent than giving it to a bad guy who's going to do bad things with it.
The automated tools you just spoke of kind of remind me of some existing tools we have in dark web reporting for compromised credentials.
Yes.
In the same manner, we harvest AI there to report on that type of information.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's the same kind of type of analysis. You feed it the data because we're all collecting data online, right? Part of your digital footprint is what are your customers? How are they interacting with you? So, you are collecting data from them. You can analyze that data, including the reviews, including their purchases, including their sentiment, all kinds of stuff to really come up with a great marketing plan. Continue to focus on what is working well for your business to build that growth.
I think you touched on an important point there is how we're stewards of our customers' data that we harvest as well. And we have an implied responsibility to protect that as well, whether it's contact information, bill information, or any other sort of information we gather.
And using tools to monitor that with AI, without AI, like your log collection. We talked about the volume of logs that your systems have. So there are tools that help parse through all that information, right? With the added benefit of AI now available to the masses, that's even more powerful to detect fraudulent activity through this data. I personally, a project I once worked on, it's been a while now, like 20 years ago, we actually use the capabilities of a SIM just to use it to analyze actual data. And now I bet every commercial SIM, security information and event management system, and every commercial endpoint detection and response has some capability as far as AI, natural language processing, machine learning. And sometimes it just takes a little creativity, maybe to take some of that data, some initiative, some, creative person on your team to take a look at that data and even use some of those tools for additional data analysis purposes, not necessarily their main purpose of protecting you from a cyber threat. Just an interesting aside there. Do we have any other questions, Latia?
Well, there was one more, and you kind of touched on it a little bit. I still wanted to ask. The person wanted to know, like, role will artificial intelligence play in the future in the cyber defense?
Oh, wow. I would say artificial intelligence, it's here to stay. What role is it going to play? It's so good at data analysis, that data aggregation, which is so important to that cyber defense, honestly, to detect patterns. I actually heard a stat this morning I found a little surprising because we tend to dwell on the mean time. I'm using the mean time of dwell time. So dwell time is the amount of time a bad guy, threat actor is in your environment, right? And typically we concentrate on what that is from ransomware, but I heard on a podcast this morning, and I haven't had the opportunity to fact check this yet, but it was a reputable source, that the dwell mean time is about a year. Yeah, not for threats in general. And I'm just thinking how much faster we could find that, because the power of AI is so good at these automated redundant tasks, and data analysis is just taking all this big. I'm not afraid the robots are going to take over. I'm more excited at the prospect of the future and how it's going to improve our defenses and our protections. I heard that little chuckle.
Luke, do you have any more questions or anything that you wanted to add before we wrap up with Natalie for today?
No, I just find the topic of cybersecurity going forward is very interesting. It kind of reminds me of a arms buildup, because everything that could be used as a defense can also be used as an offensive mechanism. Whereas it could interpret a lot of data, it could also create a lot of data to help hide those data points as well.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
It is, and it's why it's so important for researchers and white hat researchers to be on the forefront of this, because just as easily as it could be defensive, it could be offensive as well too.
Oh, completely correct.
Natalie, anything else from your end before we wrap up for today?
I think we've covered all the high points, and I'm sure we're going to be back soon.
Yes, and I want to thank everybody for joining today. Quick 15-minute blurbs every week just to keep you updated with what's going on in the cybersecurity. So make sure that you get your remaining questions into us, because next week is going to be part 3, where we're going to spend really about 30 minutes answering your questions. Thank you so much to our partner, Natalie and ConnectWise. And thank you, Luke, for also joining us today. And we'll see you back this time next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.